And welcome back to Lana's Little Things with me, Dr. Lana, specialist gerontologist, talking all things on living agelessly, family caregiving, bridging generational gaps, entrepreneurship, you know, just life itself. And I don't often, as gerontologists, for older persons, get to talk as much about entrepreneurship. I'm an entrepreneur. Yes, I'm a doctor, but entrepreneurship is so much broader than being in just one field. So, we're going to talk a little bit about that diversification tonight. That one term that seems to mean so much, whether you're whatever you're doing. And I wanted to also kind of bring a sense of, as opposed to the us and the them sometimes that you may get from the doctor's desk to the patient, or from to advice from the doctor to the caregiver, even though I am a caregiver in family, just to the part of life that we all kind of are moving into a lot these days. Yes, there are persons who will still have the typical corporate job or will work for a larger company, whatever your field, medicine, law, accounting, contracts, work, uh, construction, selling shoes, which I actually thought I might take a break and do some selling shoes. Not because I want to specifically do that. I know I'm digressing, but let's just say I just thought, well, maybe that would be a diverse thing to get to see people in a different genre. Entrepreneurship is vast, so let's talk about it before we go any further into this kind of rabbit hole, shall we? You know how that goes. So whatever you're doing, this is Saturday night. Um, not live, but recorded. And I just wanted to say, especially when for females, entrepreneurship, going it on your own, so to speak, investing and divesting in yourself seems to be the one of the toughest things you can do. And as females, and we're taught to all nurture and yes, say yes, and bring everything and do the work, which we all know we say that first, don't we, in a job interview? Or when we're starting out, if we're starting out on our own, we're going to say, I can do the work, I can get it done. And then realize, as I have, you realize after a while it's not so much about getting it done as it is about who you're becoming in the process. Have you heard that before? Yeah. So we're going to talk a little bit about the us entrepreneurs. Whether you be a physician like myself, nurse, accountant, contractor, whatever we are doing, the term applies to us all. And it may surprise you that I'm going to talk about four and maybe five as a bonus things in this short time that we have on how we can invest in ourselves. And why? Because it's going with the same oxygen mask principle. Putting on our oxygen mask first gives us the best of us that we can bring to the table and do the best for others. Depriving ourselves of oxygen, de-investing in ourselves, putting others' needs and goals ahead or in spite of our own is not a wise idea. It sounds so altruistic, but it's not a wise idea. And I say that because I have to swallow some humble pie because I did have several friends, very dear friends, tell me recently, oh, and those who've known me for years, I wish you would invest in yourself or give the energy that you give to so much to others to yourself, Lana. Like, I don't. I thought it was a good thing, but no. Putting your putting ourselves is taking the super cape off for everybody else, and embracing our own cape, embracing our own time, embracing and learning more for who we are. Helps us to stand up. Helps us to bring all of that. all of the best of ourselves, as I said before, but also we get to learn more. And I've heard Jim Rohn. Most of you may know Jim Rohn. Fantastic earlier motivational and life coach who has mentored such wonderful life coaches themselves, and Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey, all his teachings. Many of those persons that you think, oh, they make money, don't just make money. It started with investing in yourself, and they would have learned that. And you learned that the soft way, you learned that the hard way. Sometimes you just gotta learn things the hard way. So hey, just a few, four, and maybe five. We're going to talk about that. As nothing, especially so if you are in a family where you are doing some form of caregiving, where you are having, those of you who may have children, those of you who may have like a much more, a more demanding job or several jobs all at once. Not to mention what you have to do at home, which some persons don't count as jobs, like, taking out the garbage and cleaning the dishes and scrubbing the bathroom floor and washing the car. All of those come into life. So we're not downplaying entrepreneurship. In my country, Barbados, it used to be thought entrepreneur. I know my grandmother has always said, entrepreneur, what do you want to do with that? That's, we just want to go there and just, in the mind I saw, you go with a box of money, right? This is a phone, but a box of money and maybe some little trade that you have. And then the other till is for those who ask to put money to sell your trade. Well, it's so basic on it, but it's a little more than that. We know that, right? Entrepreneur family. We. Okay. So let's talk about some of the things that I learned while I was researching this. Given that, you know, no knowledge is wasted, and trust me, if a friend who really has your interests at heart tells you you are investing way too more in others than in yourself, take it. So for those of you who told me that, who keep telling me that, those of you out there, my friends who are doing this right now, just doing everyone else's interest besides your own, this is the time for you. This is the evening for you. Let's sit down and chat about it a little bit. And leave in the comments, what would you do differently than you, now that you know what you know, what would you have done differently to do for yourself or to invest in yourself in the way that you think would have put you further, or you have understood better and possibly made better investments, because it's all about that. I just want to start by saying the best investment we can make is in ourselves. I said that already. So how do we do that? Well, let's start just like how a doctor would start, from head to toe. Okay, I think that's best. So we start with knowledge. Knowledge, as the great Tony Robbins would say, is not power, it's potential power. Why? Because as the Bible says, and I am a believer in the Bible, I truly believe what it says. It's spoken truth and practical wisdom. It also says knowledge is best accent or adorned when it's adorned with the way to use it. What is the use of knowledge called? Wisdom. So we take in knowledge, we absorb it, we use it for ourselves, we apply, we see how it works in everyday life. We make errors, several errors. We seek guidance from others. We then implement some, maybe all of what the advice would have gotten is. Eventually, we do that repeatedly. We develop habits, which is so important. That's number two. But getting there, but we develop habits that will then scale off into wisdom. So the first thing is knowledge. What I would suggest, or what I've found works for me, and what works no matter how long you've been an entrepreneur, starting your own, working to see how you will invest in not just the money, but the time and the resources and the effort and the sacrifice that it takes to, and the balance that it requires to take care of those at home, to balance finances, to balance your health, to balance your exercise, to balance your relationships. Read as much as you can on those things. Not only that, read as much as you can and apply and ask questions on who you are. So ask it from friends. Who do you think I am? What do you think I bring best to the table? And you're not asking them to just give you fluff. You want them to give you the real deal. You want them to tell you, you're asking your dear friends to tell you, well, hey, you're really great at this. But you can work a little more on, let's say, maybe making a schedule. Maybe scheduling in time for others, scheduling in time for those of you with children, time for children, time for sleep. Isn't that something that entrepreneurs get so little of? What about your feet? What are you doing all day? Standing, right? For your job or sitting in what you have to do? Do you make regular stand up times? Walk around times? Think and digest after you've done a whole set of corporate work or work in your own work. Take a time to share what you've learned with someone else who is also wanting to be an entrepreneur. No knowledge is wasted. No knowledge is wasted. So let's read, share, learn, apply, and do that at least. The saying is one book a day. That might not be good for you. That might not be practical. One book a week on self-development, on what you're going to do, on the things you may need to work on. You never know when you may have to bring that knowledge into your skills and experience, and also into a CV. Who knows? Who knows? Make it practical. Think critically. Have it use it to help you to think outside the box. So not the box of, for example, me. If you're an accountant, let's not use me. If you're an accountant, the box of what does an accountant do? Is money? No. It's business. So all the aspects that take an accountant into from a corporate person into an entrepreneur. He or she would have to decide, well, I know the business side of it. Maybe I need more of the social aspect of it. Maybe I need to know how to network. Maybe I need to know the best books or information out there, or who can I connect, who has made a good at this. Not there's no reinvention of the wheel. The information that has been there on how to succeed is kind of so there, you know. It's just um, there's a lot more. There's a lot more for us, and thankfully there is. But of course, too much knowledge is well, no, there's too much information. We're in the information age. We don't want to be like bombarded with unnecessary stuff. So so reading is the first thing. Habits of which include reading. That would be the second. But I think the mindset is where you start first. The mindset of I'm going to change. I'm going to invest in me. I'm going to invest because I want my business to do better. This is what my big dream or goal is. This will assist me to assist others in the future. Because what's the point if we can only do it and it's just for our little selves, right? So we're going to do that. We'll make a list of those what we want to be, not just what we want to sell. Think of that. What do you do best with the least amount of effort? That is something that you can, and that can make money in a short time. And then you go from there and make a smaller step to what you can do with a little more effort. All the while educating, reading, and not to mention prayer. And asking for wisdom in which to do, in which to make the best decision. So I just thought, well, if we're a community of entrepreneurs, we have other things in our lives. Set aside maybe, can you do this? I said we will think of this. Have a target, like a target, um, not the store. Maybe on your book you can write a small, you know how a target goes, and the wider. So on the wider side, those are the distractions. Then on the inner side, those are more obligations. Then on the further inner rung, that is the immediate obligations. And then in the center rung is you. Around with, around us, will be the most immediate thing to do. So what I say is after you've read, after you've taken in that knowledge, put another list and say, well, how can I apply this to myself? How can I teach this to someone else? How can this make money? How can is this making me a better person by it? Have I learned how to think critically? Am I taking in basic cognitive skills? Am I learning how to deal with different personalities? Because an entrepreneur is the one person you're gonna be interacting sometimes with more people. That may not be a bad thing. You may think, oh, I'm not a people person. My thing doesn't do people. I just look at CDs all day, or what is it? Chips all day. No, computer chips. No, you still have to have dealings with the human being who's coming into the store to deal with the computer chips, to ask you a question. So, what about courses? Constantly, so we talk about reading in the field and outside, and looking for your higher source to pray for the wisdom to know where to do courses. I mean, you know, do you have to do like a master's and a diploma and huge PhD that's going to take 57 years now to go do? No. And those who want to do a longer course, fine. But if you want to just start up, just to get a little more credentials. There are several courses that you can spend maybe an hour a day. Most of them are free, I don't want to call names. An hour a day in learning something new on the business, on yourself, on self investing, on some literature that you may need to know. What about masterminds, a bigger group of people, a group, find your tribe where you can come and put your ideas together. And that with my several minds coming, but you have your own basic idea. You can mix and you can get ideas from others. And each person can branch off into their own thing because the principle is we found knowledge, we share it, we divest for ourselves. Then you go into coaching. Well, there is it. Don't we all teach? Do we all coach? For example, the gentleman comes to fix your faucet. At some point, are you going to learn about pipes? So he teaches you. So there is no one entrepreneurship job or no one thing that we do that we cannot continue to learn or to teach someone. And then when you teach someone, then they in turn teach someone else and learn for themselves. So it's never a wasted thing. It's always a beneficial. Break bad cycles. So we talked about getting good habits. We will learn how to find better ways to place our time. And so a schedule is good. You know me, I'm always talking about schedules here. Always talking about schedules. So having said that, what have we learned? Entrepreneurs. It's a it's a great life because ultimately, as Jim Rohn says, or heard others say, you invest in others, you make a living. You invest in yourself, you make a fortune for a lifetime. And this is not just money. This goes all over into all our relationships. And you know what? You end up working and more maybe, but you're working with a focus and you're working on yourself and you're working to divest your knowledge that is only going to benefit everyone else around you. And guess what? What are we doing right now? It actually makes everyone happier. It takes time, it takes thought, it takes planning, it takes energy. At the end of the day, the person who benefits best is you, is me. So with that in mind, think about it the next time you set up for, oh, I know, or somebody tells you, oh, you're just an entrepreneur. No. Especially if you have family obligations, zone in even more and teach your children or show them how they can put knowledge to good use, how they can invest in themselves, how they can take courses, how they can share what they have learned. Whatever you do, learning will never, as we say in Barbados, learning will never spoil. No knowledge is wasted. But knowledge that is focused, that deals with your personal dream and your goal, is the one knowledge that we love, that is best for us to invest in. So, from my heart to yours, fellow entrepreneurs, go get them. Read, habit, share, teach. Until we see each other next time, what would you do today? What's your first step? My first step, well, I've been reading, but my first step is making a list and setting the priorities or resetting. Some of you gotta reset. That's the fact. So that's what we're gonna do. So some of you may need to reset like me. Some might need to put in more energy. Some of you are like 3/4 of the way there and just ready to do your book or ready to launch. Great. So happy for you. Wherever we are, let's work at improving, self-improvement, self-development for our sakes, for the sakes of others around us. Because we ultimately want to be happy. And if and that's the point. To do the best that we can, be happy while we're doing it, and help someone else be happy. Who can say no to that? Dr. Lana, signing out. Good morning, good evening, good night. From my heart to yours. Mwah.